Hi everyone, and welcome to the Practice Growth with Pras podcast. I'm your host, Pras Murthy, CFO and co-founder at Dr. Multimedia, where for the last 10 years I've been helping practices grow all across the country. We started this podcast so we could dive deeper into the issues around practice growth, from online marketing to the way you run your business. We know doctors are busy people and you don't have a lot of time to study these kinds of topics, so we're hoping this audio podcast makes it really easy to stay up to date with what's going around the country. We'll be interviewing top doctors, successful practice managers, and other experts in the field. Without further ado, let's get started. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Practice Growth with Pras podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. Those of you that might be tuning in live on Facebook, thank you as well. And welcome. Hope you're enjoying the new setup here in Season 2. Some new equipment, some new camera angles, different backdrop, so always trying to improve and get better here. If you haven't heard Season 1, it's definitely available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. I think Anchor is a platform that we use as well, so please do check it out. Over 20 great episodes of all the basics of online marketing, topics from our past, the last 10 years of growing Dr. Multimedia. Of course, if you're not familiar, Dr. Multimedia is a medical marketing agency for doctors, helping private practices all across the country expand their online presence through websites, social media, reviews, and so much more. Of course, I am one of the co-founders and current CFO of Dr. Multimedia, and that's where we draw upon for all of this experience. So again, welcome to yet another episode. We're really excited that this project made it this far. I think with a lot of things in the modern day version of creating content, you get excited about an idea, you get a team together, you do a couple episodes, or you write a couple blogs, or you make a couple videos, and everything seems great, and then just, life kicks in and you fade away, or you get inconsistent, you miss a couple weeks, turns to a couple months, you lose the momentum, and it's natural. I think it's to be expected, in a lot of scenarios. So I think it does mean something in this day and age when you kind of break through those initial moments, especially I think if you can come back, and the reason why we called it Season 2 instead of just continuing, episode 25 and 26, is to really symbolize that progress and that move forward. So I'm really proud of the team here for sticking with it and pushing everyone, and of course pushing me to keep producing content. So if this is your first episode of Season 2, just know that we've got a slightly different theme this go around. We focused a lot more on the basics, the analytics, the metrics, and kind of the know-how, a lot of the technical expertise, if you will, throughout Season 1, because you need a base to build on. But Season 2, we decided we were going to be more story-based, tell you about what's actually going on, what we're encountering on a daily basis, day in and day out, here at Dr. Multimedia, the things our clients are going through. We thought that, or at least we hoped that, that would provide tons of valuable content. Of course, you're gambling a little bit when you're not mapping this stuff out and you're expecting interesting things to happen or there to be new topics. But thankfully, in the world of internet marketing, digital marketing, and just building an online presence, things move so quickly. We haven't really had that problem. And our clients and new clients have been great as well, reaching out to us, contacting us, sharing their stories, and that's really helped fueled us. So far, so good. We haven't really had to write any new content. We've just been able to go through a normal day here at Dr. Multimedia and come up with plenty to talk about. So we definitely are going to keep that rolling. And our goal with that, just so you all know, I think that especially when I Google around digital marketing or doctors, everyone's got a video saying the same things, the same 10 tips to great SEO, the same 7 things you have to do for your website to rank well. The knowledge is pretty ubiquitous, and while there might be minor differences in strategy or implementation, it almost feels like it's all just content put out by marketing agencies to help them advertise. And so to me, the value of the content diminishes a little bit because everybody just wants to have it, and then you get a lot more noise and a lot more clutter. So trying to refocus a little bit and make sure that we're providing our listeners valuable insights. And to me, that's largely about staying current and sharing experiences, because if one doctor was going through it, odds are there's at least another 1,000, 10,000 doctors out there going through the same thing. And we hope in that way that sharing actual true stories, not derived for the purposes of content or to make this podcast better, but just, hey, here's what's happening. Almost the Instagram story version, if you will, of the content that we put out at Practice Growth with Pras, so that you get a more real-time feel and that we're actually talking about current issues. So, what are we going to talk about today? Well, just some housekeeping items here. I have been lucky enough to be chosen to lecture this coming weekend at the California Pediatric Dentist Research Conference going on in La Jolla, where I live. And it's coming to our hometown, which is great. And we were already exhibiting, and in working with the show organizers, they invited us to speak and actually give a lecture, which I'm very excited about. As any of you probably know, I put out tons of content. I've been doing this for a very long time. Attended hundreds, if not thousands at this point, of conferences. This will be the actual true lecture. Usually I delegate those out to my sales team. We've spoken at many conferences, and I always like to make sure that they're getting face time in front of doctors. But with the virtue of the location, the smaller, intimate setting that is this conference, I think we're expecting 70-ish of the top pediatric dentists. I don't know how they define that, but I'll certainly learn. And have a captive audience, and so we're gonna speak about online marketing. And while we have our general talk that we can give at any conference, I really feel that pediatric dentistry is a very special intersection, if you will, of marketing and medicine and doctors and parents and children, and I think it makes it a really unique challenge. So I'm excited to give a completely brand new talk, never done before, maybe will be never given again. So obviously I've been brainstorming and thinking through different angles, and my plan was to roll into that for today's podcast. Maybe work some of these ideas out, share them with you. I didn't want it to just be pediatric dentist specific, because I don't want you to tune out if you're not a pediatric dentist. So we'll keep it a little more generalized today. And it also goes hand in hand with a couple of my new clients from this week. One was a dentist, which just seems to be the go-to example. I just see dentistry is just so rich for examples. They're a little more cutting edge than a lot of other medical specialties, or at least for now. The other ones are catching up. And maybe we just sell more dentists, and so I'm always talking about them. But earlier this week, we did have a new client sign up for marketing services out in the Tampa area. And I spent a lot of time talking to that prospect before he was a client, about branding and marketing. And it happened again later this week, again with the dentist. I'm going to fish around for more examples. Next podcast, we're not going to talk about dentistry whatsoever. But it was similar themes, and I think it's probably partly me. Once I get rolling on a topic and I talk to a prospect for 30, 40 minutes about it, then I reflect on that later, then I have more interesting things to say, so the next time someone has a conversation with me, I have more insight to share, and it kind of steamrolls until it's, that really polished presentation and information share. So I'm going to start with pediatric dentistry just to dive into the specifics, but quickly we'll expand out so that it's going to be relevant, I think, to all medical marketing and all private practices out there. You'll just have to pick the ways in which you relate to it and your practice relates to it, but I think there are great lessons to learn in general. So what got me going about pediatric dentistry is I started to try to break down the why. And if you're wondering the what, it's time and time again we've noticed that our pediatric dentists are usually pushing the envelope of online marketing. They seem to be the best at social media. We can dive into why. There might be some obvious reasons. They seem to be one of the most creative when it comes to website design. Reviews, incredibly important. And so for all of those reasons, I think plus some psychological factors, pediatric dentists seem to be, I won't say cutting edge, like plastic surgeons or people that are really marketing, but I feel like in terms of online marketing, they are really utilizing the platforms, and I think they're early adopters. And I've seen a lot of tremendous success from pediatric dentists using online marketing to really build their brand, build their practice, and in 2 or 3 years can have, wildly successful practices running at full speed, as opposed to, the usual plan of building your practice over 5 years or 10 years, whatever the case may be. So that was the what, and I was in preparation for this talk. I've always said the first part. That's kind of easy to explain. I was trying to understand, okay, why would this be the case? And I just came up with this idea earlier today, but I do think that it's going to be pretty accurate in that pediatric dentistry to me is a unique intersection of 3 very fundamental, areas. One is dentistry and everybody's fears associated with dentistry. So I believe it to be an intersection of fears, quite frankly. So you have the fear of dentistry. You have the fear of your child's safety, primary concern. Every parent, I think, is constantly thinking about the well-being of their child. Probably it's why they work the jobs that they work, why they make the decisions that they make, and it stresses them out constantly. My mom tells me that never goes away, no matter how old your child is. And also the fear of expenses, bills, things that you have to pay that you didn't account for, finances, for lack of a better word. Financial stress is at the core of pretty much everyone's stress level in some way or another, unless you have financial freedom, which everyone is seeking these days. And I think even then, you always are worried about something financially. So if you think of the fear of dentistry, the fear of your children's safety, and the fear of expenses/bills, pediatric dentistry sits where all 3 overlap. You have to take your child to the dentist, and every time you take them in, there's a possibility you're going to run into a dental issue that's going to require a lot of work. And so, while I think of pediatric dentistry as a very happy, fun topic, because we work with the dentists and we see the great things that they're doing and these amazingly beautiful practices and fun experiences and smiling kids, I feel like for the consumer, for the parent, it's a pretty stressful ordeal. And this is before you even get to orthodontics. We won't touch on that yet today. So the idea of choosing a pediatric dentist, or not being happy with your pediatric dentist, or seeking a second opinion, or Googling around before you decide to go in to the pediatric dentist, I think, unfortunately, really stems from a large place of fear, for many reasons. I don't think they're afraid of the pediatric dentist. I think that there's fear just at the root of this experience, and sometimes it expresses itself in weird ways. So if you accept that, if you agree with me, even 60, 70% with that hypothesis, then from a marketing perspective, a marketing and sales perspective, a large part of acquiring new patients and marketing to their parents and getting their parents to call in is going to be dealing with this fear, sometimes very upfront, and very bluntly, but dealing with it, embracing it, and solving it for your potential patients. And at least from a online marketing, branding, sales point of view, the more successful you are at that, the more desirable your practice becomes to a new parent. If I see that a practice has 500 reviews, that's going to make me want to take my child there. If I see that a practice's staff and doctor look like amazing individuals that are smiling and they look like they're having a great time, that's going to compel me to want to take my child there. If I see that other children, are having a good experience, if after a visit my child reports back to me that going to the dentist was fun, or that they had an enjoyable time, or that they connected with a staff member, these are all elements that are going to reinforce that that's a great practice, that you should go there. Obviously, many people that have a child have another child, and a lot of these practices will do family care as well. So you can see how it can be an influx of new patients, new business, and strengthening your reputation in the community. So I think pediatric dentists are just kind of forced to dealing with this issue because it's so layered and just one on top of the other. And then lastly, the people that they're marketing to, the parents, are not the patients. And so that's kind of unique, and we won't spend too much time on that so that we can generalize this for all doctors, but that is unique in the sense that usually when you're marketing a product or a service or a treatment, you're marketing it to the person that's going to use it or have it done to them. So that, again, from a marketing approach and an advertising approach is completely different because you're trying to convince that person that it's a good idea that they do something. In this case, you're trying to convince a parent that it's a good idea that they do something to their child, and obviously something that's not usually enjoyable and sometimes painful. So that's a serious decision as well. So all of those things kind of come together, and now if we're going to generalize, so if you're not a pediatric dentist and you made it this far, thank you for bearing with me. But generally speaking, going to see a doctor is not something people like doing. Dentistry is what gets picked on the most, but really any kind of doctor, often associated with pain, associated with long wait times, associated with insurance headaches, associated with having to take off work and follow-up visits, right? For most people, if they had the choice between going to the doctor and not, they'd probably choose not. And unfortunately, due to a lack of preventative care, a lot of visits are rooted in pain, right? Urgent care, even seeing your optometrist. If it's not for your prescription, usually something's going wrong with your eyes and they hurt. Chiropractor, of course, almost all pain-based for the most part. Podiatrists, people aren't just usually getting regular checkups, on their feet. Usually there's some kind of an issue. Of course, plastic surgery, and the list goes on and on. So usually there's pain involved or at least some kind of inconvenience. There's the cost factor, which we've discussed, especially exploding costs. Things can be really expensive, and that's nerve-wracking for people to not be able to afford the care that they want or need. And yes, I picked on dentistry at the beginning. I think we can generalize to say kind of the fear of the doctor. So I've spent enough time talking about problems. What is there to do about any of this? What is a doctor to do, right? You can't, as Dr. Watts likes to say, he can't change the sound of the drill, right? He can't make dentistry not painful, but he can just do the best job he can and make you feel comfortable. So if we can't change the medicine, and really then what are we left with? Well, what every doctor has known, or every business owning doctor has known for decades, this is not new information, is you can make the patient experience really great. From the moment someone comes into your door, they can have a good time, smiling faces, people they know, people they like, really feel welcome to going in the chair or exam room or table, to receiving great care from the doctor, to even getting a couple moments to connect with the doctor on a personal level or professional level, have an actual conversation, unlike a hospital where you just see the doctor for 20 seconds and they're gone. And then leaving on a great note, paying the invoice, paying the bill, processing the insurance, and leaving and going about their day or their life or their week or their month or whatever, and having a positive experience. If you do that from start to finish and you just build a fantastic patient experience, odds are you're going to run a really great practice. Yes, you need some business savvy to make sure you're not, making horrible business decisions and you're profitable and et cetera, et cetera. But for the most part, people that come to you are going to be happy. They're going to keep coming to you. They're going to spread the word. They're going to tell their friends. They're going to tell their coworkers, community members, and you will grow your practice and you'll be successful, right? That's the idea. So that, not news. I did not discover that idea. I'm happy to share it with you and take any credit that you'll give me, but that's just pretty standard, and we can talk to doctors all day long about how you do that. They know that better than I do. But what the internet, and I think the current moment of internet marketing has evolved into, is sharing that patient experience, letting people know what it's going to be like before they show up, getting people to know your doctors and your staff before they come in to the practice, having that reputation and that strong word of mouth in the form of internet reviews when people are just researching you, right? In the initial model of great patient experience, you still had to get people to call in, make an appointment, show up to their appointment, and then you wow them. there's really no way for them to know any of that short of being told directly by someone else. And even then, they're just giving you a positive recommendation. They're probably not spending 20 minutes telling you about every little detail of the visit. So that was always kind of a struggle, was, we need to get them in and then we'll retain them. So how do we get new patients? The internet allowed sort of an even playing field in terms of the ability to be known. Obviously, it started with websites, a little bit of social media. Even still, if you're not a pediatric dentist, you probably don't have a ton of social media. Depends on the practice. Reviews are huge. And then now, I felt like maybe 2 years ago, we could just do your website for you. We could do your social media for you. We could help you get reviews, and you were good. You didn't really need much more than that. In today's landscape, I think content creation and getting your photo, getting your video, getting your online presence, getting your reviews in front of people, not just waiting for them to find you and trust that they'll prefer you, but actually forcing the issue a la TV commercials or radio commercials of the past and making yourself known. I think the internet and the current way that we're using social media and video marketing and websites really allows for that. And especially if you embrace it, makes it easy. It's actually shocking how cost effective it can be to get people to see your website or see your video or see your social media post or learn about your great reviews, right? So to me, that is the current advantage. And if I'm just talking about what's maybe been going on the last 3 or 6 months, the changes that I see in the industry and the opportunities that I see, it's about using all of the multimedia platforms out there to spread the word. Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, these are LinkedIn. These are all means to an end of making your practice better known. Why? Well, the better known your practice is, the more that cuts against those kind of inherent or core fears that people might have. If everybody has seen you, seen your face, is familiar with you, and knows your name, like, lawyer billboards out there, they become a little more comfortable with you, and a little more comfortable means a little more trusting, and the more they trust you, the easier it's going to be for them to convince themselves to come in and try your practice. And that kind of trickles down. That trust factor is really important. Understanding that you treat other people well, that other people have had good experiences, that you can solve their problem, you can cure their pain, you can address their needs. Really, really, really important. And the downside of all of this is if the internet gives you the ability, it gives all of your competitors the ability to do the same thing. So now, as a potential patient, and I sit down and I Google La Jolla chiropractor, I'm inundated with options. I have like 5 or 10 practices that I can call that I don't know the difference between. I can see their reviews. I can see their location. Obviously, I can visit their websites. So ultimately, what is it that's going to separate the ones that I contact from the ones that I don't contact from the ones that I contact first? Because if I contact you first and you have an amazing patient experience and you answer the phone and you book an appointment and I come in and I love it, I'm not going to go call number 2 and 3 on the list and then go to them and then compare my experience and then decide which one is going to be the best fit for me, right? It just usually doesn't happen that way. And so we used to all talk about, and some people still talk about it, but I think it's outdated, being number 1 on Google, right? I've got to be at the top of Google. Top of Google is where everybody wants to go. Is that 5 recorded? 5 left? 5 left, cool. For 30? Mm-hmm. Awesome. Thank you, Greg. We all used to talk about being at the top of Google, and obviously it's everyone's goal. You're going to dominate. But the point of that was mainly because if you're first, people will see you, and if they see you, they'll probably contact you, and if they contact you and you do a good job, they're never going to get to the number 2 person on Google, right? That was the idea at its core, right? I want to be number 1, so I'm seen first, so I'm contacted first, so if I retain them, then my competitor never got the shot. not as important anymore, because you can be first on Google, but if you're showing up in that map pack and you have 3 stars and 8 reviews and the other 2 people are on the map pack and they have 150 reviews and 5 stars, I guarantee you're not being called first. You might still get contacted. You may be in the perfect location. You may be a word of mouth referral. I'm not saying you're not going to get any calls, but I'm saying if someone objectively is looking at all 3 options, they're not going to pick you first. Then they're probably going to pick you third, but I don't want to go that far. They're just certainly not going to pick you first. They're going to try the other places. Maybe they make an appointment at all 3, decide which one to go in. Availability is a huge deal. Insurance is accepted as a huge deal. Goes on and on, right? So if you want to be contacted first, if that was the point of getting to the top of Google, the other way to do it, along with having an amazing reputation and good word of mouth, is to be well known. If you're the most well-known provider in your area, people will often contact you first simply because they know you. They'll still Google or look on the map, but they'll see a name they recognize. They'll visit the website. Their recognition and their comfort level will be reinforced, and then they'll go ahead and make the decision to contact you. Regardless of where you ranked organically, or if you were 1 on the map pack or 3, or you had pay-per-click ads or you didn't, right? When we're looking through a couple options and we recognize one, there's a lot of psychology, whatever influence, however you want to describe it, that goes along with that. Think about your food delivery app, whether you use Uber Eats or DoorDash or Grubhub. You get a couple, you log on, you pick a couple options, and maybe you've never reflected on it before, but think about your reactions to the restaurants you recognize versus your reactions to the restaurants you've never heard of, and what it would take for you to order a meal from a restaurant you've never heard of. Probably at the least, you're going to go Google them and check their reviews. At least I hope you do, so you don't have terrible meals. But a lot of people won't even do that. A lot of people just won't do it. They just won't commit to a delivery from a restaurant that they have no idea about, regardless of everything else. So that's kind of the power of being known. And the other approach to fighting to be ranking number 1 and having the most reviews and having great social media and all of that, or at least I should say the purpose of it, is to become well-known. And if you are well-known, then likely people will want to do business with you. It'll influence the word of mouth, and you'll have a little bit more buzz. So, okay, let's get to the point here, kind of, right? So how do we go about becoming well-known, or at least how do we utilize the internet to become better known is probably the appropriate question. So, video. The power of video marketing. Yeah, most of you might be listening to this on audio podcast, but rest assured there is a video version, because if you can see me, if you can see the office, if you're watching it on a computer, there's value to that. So we have to film video, even though this is audio recording. You'll see a big clunky microphone. Everyone tells me it sounds great, but you'll see a big microphone in there, not for the video, right? Not to make the video amazing, but just because this is an audio podcast, and then we're taking video of it. And if people see me, that's going to be better than just them hearing me. Same goes for your website, your online presence, your social media, your video. And this is where I think the leap is occurring right now with websites, just as a whole. Almost everyone has one. I shouldn't say everyone. We're shocked every day when the sales team sells a doctor that does not have a website, but it still happens. So most people will have a website. And at the time, 3, 4, 5, 10 years ago, when you got your website, you just needed to have one, right? It needed your phone number. It needed your address. It needed your information and an informational brochure online, because you had to be online to be found on Google. You certainly weren't going to rank number 1 if you weren't there. Once everyone was there, now the industry is born of, well, how do I get to the top? What do I need to do different than that person? What am I not doing that I should be doing? What backlinks, what title tags, what keywords do I need to be number 1? That's now evolved into reviews, Google Maps, Google Ads, etc., different topics for different days. Now, in my opinion, websites have gone from just an informational brochure necessity to your opportunity to share your practice and everything you're about with someone who is looking you up and trying to get more information. They may just be coming for the phone number. I'll concede that is most visits to a website is wanting some kind of contact information or to read about the doctor. So in the moment that they're doing that, when they load up the website to find the phone number, if you can impress them or catch their attention or even just use that opportunity to show off what you and your practice are all about, well, now you're sharing. You've used the website as a mechanism to share your practice with the person that's visiting, and now they learn a little bit more about you, the practice, the philosophy. They see what's going on. And to circle this back, in the world of pediatric dentistry, I believe that to be priceless. I believe if you give parents kind of a window into the practice and they can see how things run, and you run a really good practice, I believe you are going to gain a lot of business off of that versus them going to just a plain old website with the same old information, the services pages, the meet the team, contact us, getting the information that they came for. They still wanted the phone number so they can call, and now they're just a cold call, and your receptionist is the first impression that they get, and every experience that happens from there you're being judged on, and it's up to that employee or that staff member or that doctor to do a really great job. If you get a lot of that out of the way before, not only does this encourage people to pick you over whoever else they're deciding, it also reinforces their decision to choose you if they already have or if they were leaning that way, right? They've heard you're a great practice. They go to the website. It's amazing. Look at this cool video. This doctor sounds like so much fun. This is a really cool practice. This looks like a place I want to go. This doesn't look so horrible. It's beautiful on the inside, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I feel good about my decision to call them and schedule an appointment, or I don't mind waiting an extra 2 weeks to be seen because of all these amazing things that I know about this practice. That's just from you passively building a great website and having regular social media and collecting good reviews. If you just do that every day, you build this presence up and people kind of bump into it. And now with the presence of paid advertising online, you can take it one step further and you can just force your way into your patients' news feeds, Instagram feeds, LinkedIn feeds, YouTube videos, Google ads. The list goes on and on of the number of places you can pay a company to show off your practice to people in your area and to get them to interact with you online. There's no guarantees, but in your zip codes, I want people to know more about my business. I will pay you Google, I will pay you Facebook, I will pay you Yelp to show people my business so that if they're interested and they click on it, then they learn all about me with this video or this website. YouTube, I will spend $1,000 a month, $2,000 a month just on people watching this video, because the more people that watch this video in my area, the better known I become, right? Just if you're an older style doctor, I'm not that old, but I remember billboards, of course, they still exist, but they were a much bigger deal. Think of the billboard mentality. The billboard didn't do anything. It didn't move. It usually didn't even have like a discount or an offer, but what you had was thousands of people driving by it many times daily, right? So you had this repetition, you had being seen, you had the visibility, and just by doing that, the idea is you would benefit. Like I said, the billboard itself doesn't do anything. Most people drive by. They don't remember the phone number. They often don't remember the website. They're not reading the billboard most of the time, but it sinks in over time, or you see a clever one or an interesting one and it catches your attention. It was just the sheer visibility and the traffic, literally, that would drive by. Same idea. Once you put out collateral online and you create content that reveals the practice, and we can talk all about how you're supposed to do that, now the goal is getting that visibility, sharing the insides, the inner workings of your practice, your philosophies, the doctor. And look, if you're a doctor and this all makes you makes you incredibly nervous and you don't want to do any of this, it does not have to be you. I have a veterinary client out in Missouri, great guy, not made for the camera, right? He's not particularly photogenic in the sense of being personable on camera. He doesn't want the attention. He doesn't want the responsibility. He was smart enough very early on, and I commend him, to get a young associate to be the face, to be the person on camera, to be creating the content, and leverage that for his practice. Phenomenal idea. Is something that a lot of people weren't doing at the time. It usually had to be the owner, because why would I put someone else's face on my business? But he recognized the importance of it. And so my point there is, if you doing what I'm doing, and creating all this content doesn't sound that great, or you wouldn't normally do that, you have other options. You're not restricted to just yourself, but you still want to share what's going on. I'm sure you practice great medicine. I'm sure you have really good business philosophies. Those can be expressed through other people, through your staff, through your associates, through your partners, through patients. And so you can build the video, and you can build the content, and you can keep it coming, and you can share it. But I guess what I'm really trying to say is, online marketing, in my opinion, as of right now, today, is creating the opportunity to open up a window to the inside of your practice. And if you're already running an amazing practice, the more people that look in that window, the more people are going to want to come to you, and the better your word of mouth referral is going to be, because people are going to want to share that they go to you and talk about all the things that you're reminding them of. And that's going to generate a lot of practice growth. So this was the topic for one of my newest dental clients. This was the topic for a prospective dental client. If you listen to the Watts episode on launching his video campaign, not the one where Dr. Watts came to visit, but last week when we actually launched his first video, and now we're working on the second and third videos, it becomes this constant thing. And that's why, to circle this all the way back, I think pediatric dentists are so quick and so successful on social media, because social media is a very real-time way to show off, to open up the window, that little square Instagram picture size window of what's going on in the practice, people having fun, having a good time, sharing what's going on, look at the great staff, look at our community involvement, and that creates the image and the brand that they want to have, which leads to better marketing and makes everything easier. So we spent a lot of time on theory. I think I've gone well over my projected topic. I wasn't sure we were going to make it, 30 minutes without a script of any kind, but that's what happens around here when we get going. And so I'll leave all of the execution and the practice for another episode, because I don't want to get too confused, because I think the theory is very current. I think it's what's going on right now, today, in internet marketing, and experience has taught me that means that it's probably not going to be what's happening in 2 years, 1 to 2 years, because something else will come along, and I want to address it then. So I don't want to get so tied up in the execution and what you need to be doing today, and YouTube videos and lengths and Instagram posts, because those will all change. I think if we keep this theoretical for this episode, that will be a little more timeless, this idea of visibility in whatever new way. You just follow the attention. Wherever your patient's attention is drifting, that's ultimately where you want to be, because that's what society is paying attention to at that moment. It used to be television, now it's mobile phones, and that's where you want to go. So I think those concepts will stay true no matter when you listen to this in the future. And then I think the execution of exactly what you should be doing will be very specific to this moment in time, and we can definitely do that as another episode and go from there. But I really want doctors, when they think of branding and marketing and promoting their practice, to try to boil this down to the base fears involved. And I don't mean that to sound so negative. Fear is a very powerful word. People aren't cowering in the corner about their medical visit, but there is a deep-rooted fear that we all have of pain and discomfort, and that is an unfortunate reality most of the time of visiting any kind of doctor. And so if instead of just, writing that off as a necessary evil, if you actually embrace that and say, okay, if that's what's going on, even mostly subconsciously with my patients, what can I do to help? You've always been trying to help in the practice, right? Lollipops for kids at the dental office, stickers after you get a shot, other candy or goodies that you give. Doctors have always been fighting against that and trying to make the experience the most enjoyable and the most fun and the least painful that it can be. They've always been doing that in the practice. So what can you do about it before anyone steps in the door? What can you do to become well known? What can you do for your whatever special thing you do? For me, it's Dr. Esham, my local dentist, giving me the oatmeal scented neck pillow, every time I come in to start off the visit. Whatever is your equivalent of that, how do you get your entire community to know about it? And if you can get your entire community to know about it, good things will happen. If I'm speaking so generally, I can't make any specific promises, but I know unequivocally good things follow when all of the great things that happen in your business become well known. And I guess that's really what it's about. And hopefully I have here at least, out of the 30 minutes, maybe I can distill down a good 15 to 20 for my talk this coming weekend at the conference, and we'll go from there. So thank you so much for all of those that listened, that fought through the pediatric dental specific content to get to the other side. I hope that there was at least something that you can take away or some way that you can relate it to your practice. It was the hot topic in the office this week. It was what led to a number of clients signing up with us because there wasn't anything wrong with their old online marketing. They were ranking pretty good. The website wasn't bad. That wasn't the problem. The problem was nothing was happening in the marketing arena. They weren't marketing their practice at a high level. They were just doing what they've always done or doing what everybody else does. Doing what everybody else does in marketing never helps you set yourself apart. It just keeps you in the game. Again, you can't be found on Google if you're not on Google. You can't be seen, if you're not in the places that people are looking. It just gets you in there. Now, if you want to have good marketing, especially online marketing, you need to be doing what other people aren't, or you need to be doing what's the latest and what's the most effective use of your time and energy and money. And that was what moved these doctors this week to come on board with us, because they can see the direction our firm is going. Even if we're not doing all of these things all at once for you right this second, if this is what's on my mind and this is what's on our mind here at Dr. Multimedia, this will start happening for our clients. Everything that we've done from video to podcasts to pictures to social media posts for Dr. Multimedia is now trickling down to our top clients because we've been perfecting the craft and now we're ready to deploy it. And it'll trickle down from our top clients to the next wave of clients, ones that are investing in their online marketing, and as much as we can give. And you even see, our clients on our introductory level of service with amazing video websites, because at least it's a way to set yourself apart and capture someone's attention. And even if we're not managing your social media and your reviews, you at least have a good leg up on your website, and then you can take it from there. So again, I'm Pras with Dr. Multimedia, medical marketing agency for doctors. If you've liked anything that we've talked about, if it's striking an interest, if you're curious, feel free to reach out to us. Give us a call, 1-800-679-3309. Visit us at Dr. Multimedia. The doctor is all spelled out, so DOCTOR, multimedia.com. Send us a message on there. We have live chat. You can just drop us a line through our contact form. We'll get right back to you. Email, of course, if you want to follow my Instagram, at Practice Growth Pras, and please make sure you are definitely following Dr. Multimedia's content at Dr. Multimedia. It's kind of one of those watch what we do kind of things. You don't have to worry so much about what we say, but watch what we're doing with our own content, and that can give you ideas on what to do with yours, whether you're a client of ours or not, whether you need our help or not. It should still give you some fun ideas, and you can see what the latest is, how we're pushing the envelope in our space, which will be useful for you. So once again, thank you so much for listening and bearing with us here in this longer than expected episode, but I thought it was good content, and I think these are messages that doctors need to hear and at least start to change their mindset a little bit. And I think the ones that do early will be the ones that enjoy the most success early, and then everyone will catch up and we'll do this all over again with a different topic. So thanks again, everyone, and until next time, thanks for listening.